Hey everyone, and welcome to another installment of Tom's World. Today we have returned to Fluehr Park, the former site of Eden Hall. Now what Eden Hall was, it was a school, it was a convent, it had a church, it had all kinds of things in the school. It had a big gymnasium, a library, all kinds of stuff. Long gone now. The church actually used to be here up until recent decades, and really recent decades actually. And now there's really not much of the building itself, but there are some things left on the grounds, and we're gonna go check them out once again to see if we come across anything new. So let's go check it out. So the grounds that you see in front of you right here, this is where Eden Hall would have been. I believe that the church would have been off to the left over here, and that was the last thing standing. They were using it for different things here and there, renting it out, but eventually it started falling into disrepair, much like the main building did. But the nail in the coffin, as it were, was two different fires that were set intentionally, and it was just burned beyond recognition and repair, so they eventually had to tear it down. So you could see in some of the areas like indentations in the ground, and some of them are just from vehicles driving here where they're not supposed to be, but or maybe just maintenance workers. But yeah, I mean, this is it. And you could see some indentations, as I said, as to where like the foundations were. You can see little pieces in the ground. And now when I looked at this area on Google Maps, or maybe it was Google Earth, and I went to a certain time frame, you were actually able to see the outline of the entire place. And now as I stand here, if you look down this way, right there, you could see one of those outlines. I think that's what this is. So this right here, and it keeps going straight up into there. And I'll have to see if I can find that picture on Google Maps, and you can literally see the outline of the whole place. So as you can see, there's the outline, and I will also show you what the building itself looked like, so you can tell that the shape is still there. And you can, if you concentrate hard enough, you can start to see some of the lines in the ground that were the building. There's also some groundhog holes here too, so it's a little misleading. But yeah, this is where it was, and right about where we're standing now, I believe, is where the church was, on this side here. Kind of crazy to think. Now this place, I've talked about it in the past when I was here. It had a lot of ties to well-known people, and let's see, Jacqueline Kennedy is one of them. Two of her aunts had something to do with this place, or at least with the Sisterhood of the Sacred Heart. And Edward Morrell, founder of Fluehr Park, also had something to do with this, because there is an old cemetery down that way, an old graveyard, and he was there. I don't want to say he was buried in there, because he had one of those building things, what are they called, mausoleums or whatever, and everybody in this cemetery, including the nuns, were supposedly moved to other locations. And the only thing that's really left of said cemetery, if they indeed did move all the bodies, which I find somewhat hard to believe considering how long some of them were there, if they did move them, then they're not in there. But if not, then they might still be resting there. But we'll go check that out. It's really neat. It has what they call a grotto and everything in it. And as I was about to walk over towards where the cemetery is, I started looking at this area here. Now, keeping in mind, I said the church was the last thing standing, and you can actually see the outline of where it was here. You have this little ditch here. You keep following it down, you'll see it there, and it goes across. And then there's some ditches down that way too. So this must be where the actual church stood. And really is a shame that it's not here. So here in Fluehr Park, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that exactly correct, but there's plenty of trails that you can walk around on and check things out. We're going to go down this way towards that wooded area over there, because that is where the said grotto is. I can remember the last time I was here, I was walking in those fields over there, the soccer fields, and they were pretty saturated. And I do seem to remember reading something about that, where they don't use them often because of the saturation levels in them. So I don't know, maybe that's changed. Maybe they found a way to drain it a little better, but the whole place is very, very cool, very peaceful. Now, way in the distance is where I started the video, over where Eden Hall used to be, and we'd be looking at the front of the building, if it was still there. So I found a little path that goes into the woods that takes us down to that grotto that I had talked about. Well, this is one of the paths, actually. This is not the one I went down initially. But, you know, why take the same exact path every time, right? You can see it there. A lot of helicopters flying around today. So it's been a few years since I've been here. And obviously nothing's really going to change. Same wood planks are here. And this was part of the cemetery. So we would be in the cemetery right now. There is a date stone on there, and I think I had trouble figuring out what it said before. Could be 1916, maybe. Possibly. People have some snowmen up there. I would assume that, you know, the Virgin Mary was up there at some point. And all through here was all the headstones and the buildings that housed the dead. And this is the back of it. Now, I'm not sure how many people were buried in here. I know a lot of the nuns that worked here and had passed away in their time here. I know they were buried here. I know Edward Morell and his wife were here at one point. But I really don't have any idea how big it was. I mean, when I tried to look on old aerial photography sites, it didn't look like it was that big. It just looked like a rectangle area here. And you could even see the concrete that would go across that made up the different rows. The benches are still here. Not all of them. You can see a little area there where what used to be some kind of little creek of some sort would flow through. And maybe on the rainier days, I'm sure it still does. And there are all kinds of remnants left from the pedestals that the headstones would be on and various structures within. You can see the rocks like scattered about here. And let's get a closer look at that little tunnel. I can't remember if I got a closer look at this when I was here last time, but I figured I'd do it this time. And you can see where the wall for this was, still mostly is, and there's pieces of the wrought iron fence that went around the entire cemetery. Right now we're just going to get a closer look at this fence, which I did look at last time I was here. You can see some more of the stones down there, not headstones, just the different stones that were used for the cemetery and for this wall. I mean, at least there's still some remnants left of what used to be a final resting place for people. All right, we're gonna go up here. Because like I said, I do seem to recall the, I mean, they're like little walls and stuff. You can see, I pointed out this pipe before, and more than likely it was just something to do with the fencing. But it was up here. I know there's another, oh yeah, there is another path right here. And it's a sidewalk, so there's a dead giveaway. No pun intended. my saying dead giveaway. You're gonna see my shadow here. But yeah, this was all part of the cemetery. And I see one of those concrete things I was talking about. I just have to be mindful of where I'm stepping here. I'm gonna go around the other way. There was a few thorny things sticking out there, and I just don't have the free hand to be tending to them as I walk past. Yeah. So you can see it goes all the way up that way. And it was kind of like a rectangle shape from what I saw in those overhead shots, the aerial photography. So this would make sense. So they were probably, since it goes downhill off to the right here, they were probably here on my left side and just going up that way. I know that pretty much the front of the building, as far as I can tell, of Eden Hall, pointed right at the cemetery. Not exactly, but mostly. Yeah, and there's another wall up here. As you can see. And through the years, roots and trees and stuff have uprooted some of it. But I can see it does continue to go down that way. We'll walk a little down that way too. It really is strange to think that it's like almost to the day, you know, give or take a week, that it's been 3 years since I was here the first time. You can still see the wall going there. Well, yeah, 3 years ago. That's weird. It's weird to even think that I've been doing videos that long, but it's actually been longer than that. Next month will be my 4-year anniversary for YouTube. And the wall's still going here. There's actually 2. Again, more helicopters. So there's this, and then that. So I wouldn't think there's a walkway under here. It just seems like dirt. So this may have been a row of headstones here, and then another one on this side, and then maybe yet another one beyond that. And then somewhere along here was the building where Edward Morrell was, he and his wife, until they were moved. This almost looks like it might have been steps maybe at some point. There is some concrete and rocks and stuff, unless this is just where it ended. You could see right here would have been like a little marble pillar or something that might be marble, I'm not sure. Hard to tell. But there's also a lot of trails that have been made over the years here by people who explore. So it's hard to really tell where the end would have been. I'm looking off to my right to see if there's anything more going towards the houses over here. And I don't see any concrete or anything like that. But the trail here does go around this little hill off to the left. Little ramp for a bike, I guess. I remember we used to do that kind of stuff all the time when I was a kid, especially when I hung out in Croydon when I was growing up, and there was the woods along Pennsylvania, is it Pennsylvania Ave or Pennsylvania Road? I think it's Pennsylvania Ave. We just call it the PA Woods, and we made a lot of little bike tracks in there. It was fun. Does the path continue, or is it overgrown? It's a little overgrown, and you can see that little body of water coming through here. See, what I need to do is I need to come here with somebody who knows the exact history, and it is very deja vu-ish. I think I may have said this in that video, but bring somebody here that knows the history and can pinpoint exactly where things were, and you know, maybe give a little history lesson. I walked right past this. It's another piece of the fence that this tree has taken over. A woodpecker. Hear it? Must be a pretty hollow piece of tree for it to be that loud. Here we are back at the sidewalk. And you know, I'd mentioned it earlier, but one does have to wonder how many bodies actually did get moved. You know, I mean, when you have a body that's been in the ground for so long, chances of you getting all of the body aren't very good. You know, there's deterioration over time and stuff. So I wonder how they pulled that off. I mean, they've done it in the Philadelphia area multiple times. They even did it downtown. They had taken over an area that was a cemetery to use as a parking lot, and supposedly they moved the bodies and gave them brand new headstones, and all the old headstones went underneath the Betsy Ross Bridge, which some YouTubers have shown that. And right now we're going up the path that I came down today. I see something off in the distance over here inside of that little ditch that is the creek, or not a creek, very small stream, we'll call it. And it looks like a flat rock, so I wanted to check that out as well. Yeah, see, there's cement in the ground over on this side. So I don't know, maybe when this was a cemetery, this little ditch wasn't here, because it does seem to be sticking out going all the way up there. It was hard to judge just by looking at the aerial shots exactly how big this was, but obviously it was here too, unless there was some other kind of structure over here, which I did not see in those shots. There was nothing over here except this little cemetery. So maybe these were just different paths to get down here, and then over time, you know, water got underneath the pathway and started to make it collapse. It's very hard to say. That's like a big railroad tie. But there's concrete on top of it, and over here by this tree, another piece. But I don't see any signs on this side of that little ditch that there was anything going on. But I'm willing to bet that this tree was here back then. I mean, this is pretty thick, tall tree. Now see, there's a brick right there, and that could have been one of those buildings, you know, for the dead. So maybe, I don't know, maybe over here is where they had them, and then over towards the other area is more where they buried people. I mean, it's almost a little creepy being here, but that's just because we know that this used to be a cemetery, and very well could still house the dead. So one more look at the grotto before we leave, and we're going to venture into other parts of the park before it gets too dark, because I don't want to be in here after sunset, because I'm sure they close the gate and I don't want to get trapped in here. But even going up the main path here from the grotto, you can still see pieces, concrete all along here. Again, these could have been parts of those buildings for the dead. They could have been statues. It's really hard to tell because there was no actual pictures. There was those aerial shots, sure, but there was no actual pictures taken in here that I know of, that I could find online. Now walking across the field just in front of those woods, over in this direction, I believe it's, I'm trying to get my bearings here, but like right next to this park, our house is a community called Eden Hall, of all things. And it's actually on what used to be the property of Eden Hall. So if there were anything of historical value there, it was taken down long ago. So now we are once again in that field where Eden Hall used to be. And if I was correct, I am standing in the area where the church was, the chapel. You can see this area here is just a bit flat. So my assumption would be from about where we're standing almost all the way down to the tree line there, and it would have went down a ways this way, and then probably to right about where you see the light coming through there. That probably would have been around the front of the building. And right now we'd be looking at the back, and we would be inside the chapel, unless it was further back, because again, it's hard with size ratio and the fact that I don't have my map up with, you know, marking where I am and everything in the field. But I mean, it looks pretty flat back here, so maybe it was bigger than I thought. It was a very big place, don't get me wrong. I mean, it was huge. Now a little further into that field, and then I could see something that's familiar that I definitely know I saw when I came here the first time. This little piece of wood, wood. Yeah, that's what it is. It's wood, not concrete, I swear. No, this little piece of concrete, which is like a little wall, and it's got a square cut into it, which tells you that there was something there, some kind of signage. And it's on both sides, as you can see. And this was probably one of the entrances to Eden Hall. It doesn't appear that they had anything affixed to the top. It's pretty smooth. Although who knows, there could have been some kind of statue of something there. I'm sure that these fields probably weren't part of it, and if it was probably just open land. But I seem to recall seeing like a body of water around here, man-made obviously. I think I see it down that way, like back here. So we'll go check that out too before we leave. But right now I'm just going to go around in here. I recall a telephone pole being down here with those little ceramic things on them, whatever they're called. I don't know, because I'm not a telephone pole guy. Nor am I an electrician by any means. Let's see if I can find that. Well, I found a telephone pole here, and I don't see those little ceramic things on them. I'm sure you've seen them a million times on like older pictures. I don't even know if they still use them on modern telephone poles. I don't think they do, or power line poles, whatever they are. I know that there's one that's standing like right here, and it has parts of some of them up there. But yeah, I don't know if this is the one that I saw. Again, it's been 3 years almost to the day, so anything could have happened. They could have been hanging off of this thing here and somebody knocked them down. I don't know. Well, wherever that telephone pole is, I don't know. It could be over here in this stuff. But right now we're heading down towards the water there. So what you're looking at there is I-95, which was not here when this place was initially built, obviously. I mean, that was in the 1800s. I'm walking over to this concrete here because I don't know that I saw this last time when I was here. You know, I probably should have watched my own video to know for sure. But this was something, obviously. There's a hole. There's a cutout square there. And another piece of concrete right here. Wonder if that hole goes all the way down. Oh yeah. I see water in there. The other side of this tree, it's pretty dug out. And you know, there's actually concrete going around. Oop. There's actually concrete going around. You can see it. Some of it's buried in bricks. So this was some kind of well or something to help, you know, with the water levels here or something. I don't know. Again, I'm not a plumber either, so I couldn't tell you these things. But this is absolutely man-made. Somebody has some fake flowers there. I mean, it's pretty. There is a lot of leaves in there, but it has a lot of trees around here, and I'm sure they all end up in there somehow. You know, upon further looking at this, the water that we were just looking at is off to my left. There's a row of trees behind me on either side of like a raised area, and you can see it all the way down. How much you want to bet this was one of the roads to come into Eden Hall? And based on the size of the trees, they've been here a long time, at least most of them, and the road to come in was probably off of what is now 95, but was probably prior a different road. I can't remember off the top of my head when they made I-95. We'll say, for those of you who are, I don't know, in your 60s and older, you probably remember parts of 95 being made. As to when they made this part here, I don't know. But I'd be curious to see if there's any signs of an entrance over here. But I don't see anything at all. And these trees obviously weren't here at the time. But yeah, no signs of an entrance, no, you know, pillars or anything like that, which would have been cool. And maybe at some point they were here, or maybe they were on the other side of this wall, because I'm sure this fence wasn't put up back then. Anyway, we'll walk back towards that way, see what we see. But a little conversation while we walk. So yesterday, today is Tuesday, January 2nd. Yesterday, New Year's Day, I went to go make a video, and I drove almost an hour to get there. It was over in Chalfont, PA, to look into an old amusement park that used to be there, and most of it is in a wooded area now. And I was psyched. I got obsessed with this from the time that it was first mentioned to me And I looked into it. I tried to watch everything I could find and read everything I could find. But when I got there, I was disappointed to see on the trees going into the woods, it says no hunting, no trespassing, violators will be prosecuted. I was very sad because, as you all know, I will not trespass. That's part of my thing. I know a lot of people do, and I'm not knocking them for doing it, but you know, I like to keep everything as legal as possible, I guess. So I never went in there, sadly. I have my feelers out. I've reached out to some people to see if there's any way possible that I can legally get in there to make a video, because there has been talks of them doing something with that wooded area, and before they do it, I would like to get in there. Just like before they knock down the buildings at Catherine Drexel's shrine, or what used to be her shrine, I would like to get in there as well. Not necessarily in the buildings. In the buildings would be great, but I would like to at least get on the grounds legally, because they now have things up because people were going in there and they were doing graffiti and they were getting into the school building and stuff like that. So they have signs up now that say no trespassing, 24-hour surveillance, stuff like that. So, you know, I can't really get in there. I mean, I could. It's just a chain with some signs, but I don't want to do that. You know, I would like to go in places with permission. And so if anybody out there, I did put this out there on Facebook a couple times, but if anybody out there knows of anybody for Fluehr Park, behind the water treatment plant in Chalfont, if you know of anybody that I can get in touch with to find out about going back there. Also for Catherine Drexel's shrine up on 13. If anybody has any information, please feel free to reach out to me. You can reach me through my Facebook for This Is Tom's World, which is always in the description at the bottom of every one of my videos. And you can leave me a message there. If you don't have Facebook, which some people don't, then you could just simply put a message on this video and ask me for my email address, and we can begin talking about it then. But yeah, I would really love to get into those places and do like a really good history video of it. I mean, in Fluehr Park there is virtually no videos of people going through there. And I know there's some stuff left in there. Even if it's just picnic benches, still would be great. Anyway, end of rant. I'm sure you probably all fast forwarded through that. If not, thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, look at this. We're back at the parking lot. Oh, there's something over here I missed. Wonder what this could have been. Maybe maybe where the old flagpole was. Could have been right in there. Although that looks like a rock. But they could have just put a rock in there just to cover it up more. Because there's the current flagpole. And I wonder where this is in relation to those trees that were all on the line. So it's not far off. I don't know. It could have, the road could have turned into here. I do see what looks like concrete over here. Oh, this was a bench. Never mind. Yeah, that was a bench. Wonder if it was original for the Eden Hall. It's possible. I mean, the bolts are rusty. He's just staring me down. Not anymore. He's camera shy. But so there it was, Eden Hall. It was, from what it looks like, it was a beautiful place and probably would have been completely awesome on the interiors of it. I mean, there are some pictures of the church, which would have been on the left side from where we're standing here, and there's some pictures of the interiors as well, but of Eden Hall itself, I didn't see any. I saw a lot of pictures of the outside, but sad that it's no longer here. You know, that it wasn't able to be kept up, at least for historical purposes. I mean, as I mentioned, Catherine Drexel earlier, her family had something to do. At one point, they owned this land. It wasn't for very long, but her family did own this land. And her family did not live far from here. They lived over where Jefferson Hospital Torresdale campus is right now, right at Red Line and Knights Road. And halfway in between there and here is where Edward Morrell lived, on what is now Morrell Ave, over by the elementary school there. I think it's Hancock. But they all had something to do with this place. And of course, you know, the thought occurs to me, was Robert Logan and his family ever here? It's possible. It's very possible. Anyway, I've rambled enough. I'm going to get out of here. So thank you again for going on another adventure with me and for revisiting this beautiful place. And thank you for all the support you've given. And if this is your first time here, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. After you do that, hit the notification bell. That way you'll be sure to be notified when I upload new videos or when I go live, which I might be doing tonight. There's a good chance of that once I get done editing this. But also make sure you check out the merch shop. The link is in the description. I have 3 different designs. I keep saying I'm going to have more, and I have not yet put more up there, but I just haven't had time to invest in it yet. My downtime has decreased now that I'm at the park year round. So I would say, yeah, go check that out. See if anything tickles your fancy there. You get yourself some Tom's World gear. And make sure you hit the big thumbs up underneath this video and give it a like. With all that said, I'm going to get out of here. I will see you all in the next one. Make sure you stay safe, stay healthy, and take care.